Love, drama, and lesbians. One of those will get your attention. Sweet Blue Flowers, or Aoi Hana, was written by Takako Shimura and ran from 2004 to 2013, with an accompanying anime series releasing in the summer of 2009. Beneath the shimmery watercolor exterior, this show belies some very serious messages about the queer experience, all delivered at a time when representation of these issues was scarce. This isn't one of those shows where the characters spend time saying things like, but we're girls, surrounded by rose-colored vignettes. This is serious Yuri. This is real man's Yuri, you know? For all the very manly men who read Yuri, you know, like myself, don't I just scream masculinity? Look at me. Aoi Hana's 11 episodes are 22.5 minutes long each, for a total runtime of roughly 247.5 minutes. That's almost enough time to watch Catch Me If You Can twice, ending your second watch through right as Frank starts his first day at the FBI. It's not a great comparison, but it's a horrible review. It's not supposed to be great. It's in the name, dummy! The story stars FUMI, a girl discovering herself, AKIRA, her childhood friend that she reunites with, and an ensemble cast of women from the girls' respective schools, including characters like KYOKO and SUGIMITO. The show begins with a beautiful intro. There's lots of tender, intimate moments, soundtracked by the band Kukikodan. Go check out their stuff apart from what they did for the show. These bands are more than the one song they do for an anime. FUMI and Akira's first meeting in the show comes when FUMI gets groped on the train going to school. This incident represents a very serious problem in Japanese society.
Recent studies have shown that up to 70% of Japanese women report being groped on the train. This issue would cease to be so widespread if 100% of Japanese women were allowed to carry a gun.
Following this interaction, FUMI reveals to Akira that she's in the middle of a personal crisis involving her cousin CHIZU. And Akira's like, "Oh, FUMI, you can tell me anything. There's nothing that can shock me. We're best friends." I'm cousin gay. Yo, what the fuck? Oh, did I not mention this show opens on incest? Damn, my bad. I need to talk to my doctor. Yo, what's my name again? Now, it's easy to point fingers at incest and give big knee-jerk reactions and call it weird because, well, it's pretty fucking weird. But this is a work of literature. It's a piece of art. We have to assume that all of its pieces were deliberately included and that they are all meant to serve a purpose. We're here to review, so let's analyze. As I said, it can be easy to write this off as a fan service includement. The proponents of this theory are supported by the fact that this series ran in an adult magazine. Ergo, it needed some kind of salacious selling point in order to hold the attention of the typical reader of this genre of magazine. But let's assume the opposite. Let's talk about incest as a metaphor for queer attraction. In Japanese society, incest and being queer both fall under the umbrella of being taboo. A gay character experiencing her awakening through a blood relative doubles down on the pressure. This is 2 layers of forbidden for FUMI. CHIZU and FUMI's relationship isn't trying to endorse incest. This is Takako Shimura's attempt to illustrate the complicated situations young queer people find themselves in as they explore their feelings. CHIZU used FUMI when FUMI was even younger and CHIZU was at least out of high school, then proceeded to carry on this way all the way up until CHIZU got engaged. The abuse between CHIZU and FUMI is a commentary on uneven power dynamics. Age demands maturity. CHIZU should have known better than to chase after someone blood-related, and furthermore, someone so young. So many times are the young people involved in these types of relationships doomed to grow up and perpetuate the cycle of abuse themselves. CHIZU recklessly entangled FUMI, negligent of the damage it could cause her and others later in life, and FUMI is incredibly strong for surviving it how she has. Furthermore, I am certain there is a crowd that would discount FUMI's awakening considering how muddled it is with incest. However, FUMI being a lesbian is not just a product of her being preyed on. FUMI makes it clear time and time again in the show, she knows what she feels, and she's not afraid to express it. This is evidenced by her being a massive crybaby. While crying is often interpreted as a sign of weakness, that couldn't be further from the truth when it comes to Fumi. Fumi's crying works as a preventative to her getting hung up. She cries to let everything out and then she moves on. Fumi feels things very intensely, which could be attributed to her trauma, but she never allows any of it to stop her. Fumi is the picture of perseverance, and that is something I like a lot about her character. Takako Shimura's writing aims to subvert many common Yuri tropes, but not just by flipping them directly on their head. Instead, she aims to use subversion to paint a picture closer to reality. Shimura does not write fluttery moments and queerbaiting. Shimura paints with all of the colors when creating these characters. There are characters who are firm shades of confident in their sexuality. There are those that exist in more gray areas and are still questioning, and the careful consideration of the many different shades people express themselves in creates a portrait of reality that is engaging to watch while also being a canvas for the artist's message. Shimura's subversion tactics are further evidenced in the schools Fumi and Akira attend. Akira goes to Fujigaya. It's a classic traditional girls' school that was incredibly relevant at the time. It served as the backdrop of such famous Yuri as Maria-sama, a show that Aoi Hana is not shy about referencing.
帰るとき、ごきげんようとか言わねえの？
ごきげんようはなかったけど、ちっこいのがお姉様って呼んでくれたよ。
However, Fujigaya is not our protagonist's home. Fujigaya exists as a purely complementary setting, a nod to popular culture and fiction as a whole. But not every gay awakening happens among young nuns decorated in habits and rosary beads. Real-world gay people discover who they are at home, at the grocery store, and at schools that look a lot more like Matsuoka High, the school that Fumi attends. Fumi doesn't spend her days among tea ceremonies and in chapels. She experiences the more mundane side of things, like trying to make friends and choosing a club just because her crush is in it. Fumi's first kiss isn't in the aged shelves of the libraries of Fujigaya. Fumi has her first kiss in the sterile, stainless steel bookshelves of Matsuoka. It is here that Fumi has her first serious interaction with another integral character to the story, Sugimoto. Sugimoto is a transfer from Fujigaya and represents the classic princely type of girl, popularized by such characters as Sailor Uranus or Kashima from Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki. Sugimoto is Fumi's first serious girlfriend, but she's far from perfect. She's great at surface-level interaction and friendly platitudes, but her actions communicate that her heart is not fully invested. And once again, Fumi is being taken advantage of by someone still figuring out themselves. God, seeing Fumi being used over and over hurts worse than the time I tried to become a boxer.
Well, this sucks!
I really misunderstood that sport. Sugimoto refuses to let go of her feelings for her old teacher, Mr. Kagami. Immediately during Sugimoto and Fumi's first kiss, it is clear that Sugimoto's mind is elsewhere. She even begins the dialogue by telling a story about a nickname she was given by her real crush.
藤ヶ谷には図書館の君ってのがいてさ、先生がふざけて本好きの生徒をそう呼んだらね、そのあだ名が学校中に広まった。
Fumi and Sugimoto's relationship marks the beginning of what I interpret as the show's Act 2. Bigger events begin in the background, like the school's joint production of Wuthering Heights. Flowers in the settings that were previously subdued are now in full bloom to illustrate literal budding tension. This is also where drama begins between KYOKO and Fumi, as KYOKO harbors unrequited love for Sugimoto. KYOKO's crush on Sugimoto is representative of her greater attempt to escape fate. KYOKO feels that she lives a lonely existence. She's not seen with many friends, and she's also fated to be part of an arranged marriage. While her betrothed doesn't seem like a bad guy by any means, and honestly appears to love KYOKO, she sees herself as a bird in a cage. This struggle can be gleaned from KYOKO's painting in episode 9 that features a singular tree on a hill. There's a mountain range on the horizon and a break in the clouds behind the tree. The tree is a reflection of KYOKO's solitude. She can see the promise of an infinite horizon beyond the mountains, and she can bend and break all she wants, but in the end, she's rooted to her hill. She's fated to the life she never chose. If you wanted to take the analysis even further, there's something that I didn't even notice until later. There's a point where KYOKO is staring at a painting that was made by Sugimoto's older sister. That painting has similar themes as Solitude. It's a single solitary building in the middle of a valley surrounded by mountains. KYOKO is fascinated not only by the connection to Sugimoto, but also because she sees a lot of herself reflected in that painting. Also, you would have had no way of knowing that I didn't notice that until way later if I didn't say something about it right now in the retake. But I like being honest about the editing process. I redid the intro like 3 times. Takako Shimura is using KYOKO's struggle as another chance to make a commentary on the traditional role of women in society, both in Japan and worldwide. And this is far from her furthest metaphor. Remember that I discussed a joint production of Wuthering Heights earlier. This too is a reference, but not one that is so easily understood by Western audiences.
宝塚みたいなもんなのかね。
It's time for a history lesson. The school play's casting of women in traditionally male roles evokes performances of the Takarazuka Revue. The Takarazuka Revue was founded in 1913 by a man named Ichizo Kobayashi. Kobayashi saw Takarazuka's position on the railway line from Osaka, as well as the pre-existing popularity from hot springs, and sought to increase tourism by establishing a theater troupe, an attraction. Making a bold choice, Kobayashi opted against traditional kabuki theater style and instead chose to assemble a cast entirely of women, leading many women to fill the role of male characters. While this may seem like a progressive move, the Takarazuka Revue was intended to send a totally contrasting message. The idea was that by performing as men, women would learn to understand men better so that they could be better wives when they marry. However, a large part of the attraction to Takarazuka's predominantly female audience was getting to see women in social and sexual situations that contended with established norms. Women weren't seeing a man on stage, they were instead acknowledging the female body, acting in a way that defied traditional femininity. The Takarazuka Revue continues to be a subject of Japanese debate on the construct of gender, and the cast is still in contention with the corporate structure of the revue, which scholar Lori Brau calls, quote, overwhelmingly patriarchal, unquote. But the Takarazuka Revue must be discussed in a video like this, given its parallels to Fujigaya's production of Wuthering Heights. Fujigaya, much like the revue, is established with the official intent of preparing young women for society as wives and mothers. But the casting of Sugimoto as the role of Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights draws similar reactions as the Takarazuka Revue. Women fawn over Sugimoto, and they wait for a kiss during the production. But it is Sugimoto's role as Heathcliff that allows her role as the prince to be put under further scrutiny. Sugimoto herself remarks that she hates the character of Catherine in the source material.
どう思う？キャサリン。わがままだけど奔放でそれが許されて。私は好きじゃないな。
Often we find ourselves hating a character because they reflect some perceived negative quality of our own. That is what I believe is happening with Sugimoto and Catherine. It is worth noting that Sugimoto's casting as Heathcliff can be viewed as poignant due to their shared ability to recognize themselves as troubled men.
どんな役をやるの？
ちょっと困った男の人。周りの人がね、困っちゃう。
However, the parallels between Sugimoto and Catherine just keep piling up. Catherine and Sugimoto can be both viewed as emotionally immature characters, which in part can be attributed to their age. However, Catherine and Sugimoto both create situations that wrap in other people. They both refuse to confront the problem of themselves, both, in certain cases, being outright destructive. Sugimoto yo-yos between emotional states. She's the unflappable prince, but her bravado crumbles at the mention of Mr. Kagami. A situation further complicated by the fact that Mr. Kagami is intended to marry one of Sugimoto's sisters. This allows us an opportunity to discuss Sugimoto's family dynamic. On the surface, the Sugimoto sisters appear to be liberated, laissez-faire types of women. They spend their time smoking, playing, and even taking feminine lovers. But it is clear that this engine of freedom is running on sawdust. For starters, this type of freedom is only available to a small, wealthy percent. This allows them to live removed from general society, thus having no expectations by which to be bound. The illusion of freedom also only exists as long as these women's husbands aren't around. When they return from work trips or even their own extramarital affairs, the women will reassume their role as wives. They were never free to begin with. Fumi is able to make this realization. It is a major turning point in her understanding that what she wants is something more grounded in reality. It is fun to love the prince, to be whisked into an elevated world of popularity and chauffeurs, but the role itself cannot exist without limitations. In Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun, the character Kashima exists as a princely archetype, having the same effect on people as Sugimoto. However, Kashima is humbled by self-awareness and does not seek some kind of unilateral selfish freedom. Because of this, she not only exists, but thrives in the environment of the series she is in, becoming a fan favorite. Sugimoto feels no such reservations at first, and takes time to come to them, leading to her ultimate failure as a prince. She does not get the girl, her true love goes unrequited, and in the end, she is still not entirely resolved, as she neglects to be truly honest with Fumi and continues to run from her problems, which is evidenced by her moving to England at the end of the anime to continue her schooling. It is fascinating that the one way that Sugimoto is able to truly unite people is through misery. KYOKO and Fumi form a strong friendship based on their shared pain at the hands of Sugimoto. And speaking of friendship, it is important as we approach the end of the review to discuss Akira, the other poster girl of the series. At the same time, discussion of Akira is hampered by several factors. For one, we are scarce on substantial source material. Much of Akira's appearance throughout the show are spent combating the incestuous advances of her brother for comic relief, as well as being a moral support to Fumi. Akira is very sexually gray. She is not opposed to dating a girl, but she's still a young high schooler and still new to the dating world. She's not shy about her naive worldview, openly communicating that she doesn't know much about dating itself.
大人の人と付き合うってのが全然ピンとこなくて。
Akira's naivety isn't a bad thing, and if anything, allows her to be emotionally in touch in a way that many others aren't. Much like a curious child, wandering through the garden, plucking leaves from plants, Akira is engaging with the world as it comes to her. Through trial and tribulation, she is able to remain true to herself, and true to the people she cares about, like Fumi. But Akira deserves to be more than just a moral support. Akira is an important character and Fumi's first real love. Akira is definitely a star of Aoi Hana as a whole, but I would maintain that a major injustice of this show is that it was not given enough episodes to adapt enough material to allow Akira to truly shine. 11 episodes simply isn't enough when, by the time this anime was airing, Aoi Hana had already released its 4th volume. Conversely, one could argue the series' further success was impacted by the fact that an official English release did not exist until fall of 2017, 8 years after the anime's original air date. It is a shame that we never got more of this anime for reasons beyond its shortcomings with Akira. Aoi Hana was, and still is, an incredibly important series. It is one of the few early Yuri that treated the love story with serious, non-fetishizing respect. If Aoi Hana had aired circa 2014 to 2016, I believe the series could have become a monumental success, surrounded by the sensation that shows like Watanare are currently enjoying. And while Aoi Hana continues to see recognition from new discoverers and nostalgics like myself, I'm left wishing that these flowers had been allowed more time to bloom. Aoi Hana receives a 6.5 out of 10, falling into my would recommend category. Aoi Hana loses points on things like execution of certain characters and its general brevity, but what it loses there, it regains with its beautiful, dreamy art style, and by being an important commentary on the queer experience and the role of women in the world, both incredibly important topics in the current year. I hope you learned something about the show and something about yourself. This has been a horrible review, and my name is The Hotbox. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and leave a comment with what you want to see me talk about next. It can be anything: a video game, a book, a TV show, a movie, an anime, and just like your dad when you told him you wanted a pony, I'll tell you I'll think about it, and then I'll just give you cigarettes and a video on Death Note. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video around. Spread the word. Whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a good rest of your day and an even better tomorrow. And I'll see you in the next episode of whatever I make. Until next time, I've been The Hotbox. Bye. Whoops. What's up? I forgot to record a merch ad, so I'm gonna do that right now. I feel like there's piece of merch on screen now, and then a different piece of merch. And those are all pieces of merch you should buy right away. And you can also use this code to get a discount. So give me money, dummies, hotbox.creator-spring.com. I recorded this at 7 a.m. Oh man.
This issue would cease to be so widespread if 100% of If 100% of Japanese women would fuck me, I mean, it'd be nice.
Wayo. Oh fuck. Shit.
How are you supposed to do this?
Okay, are we good? Check 1 2, check 1 2.